best ways to make 100,000. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 1 of 2, where I'm going to be sharing with you guys how you can make 100,000, which is 6 figures, which is super awesome. And I'm very excited to be here with you guys to talk about this very topic. And it's going to be very interactive, going to be very exciting. And I'm literally going to share loads of different things with you. What is it that you would like to make 100K with? Because obviously that can be quite important as well, just to know like what you're going to do or what you're working on. And there's literally 2 very powerful ways that you can go about it, but in certain circumstances, one of the 2 may be better for you. Now, I'm going to go at this training quite fast and high level and in depth, because basically my aim with this call today is to, first of all, make you understand the 2 ways I'm about to describe of how you can make 6 figures and how to go about it and what's the difference between the 2, so that you really, after this episode, have a very clear idea of how you can go about it and what are the things that are necessary, and also to really make you see that you can do this. And you can even use the same strategy to go towards 7 figures or beyond that. So it's going to be very, very powerful. And I really want you to see that you can do this. Doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter where you what kind of education you had, doesn't matter if you are in business or you're not in business. It's going to be like the way how I teach is going to be very straight to the point, but also very simple, so that's step by step, and it will basically help anyone, whether you are already in business and you're finally ready to scale it up and get more clients, get more cha-chings. If you're excited about cha-chings, comment below and say cha-ching. And number 2, if you just want to make more money and you may not have a business, but you're open to the idea. And that is also, again, why it's so super important to not just be on part number 1, but also to be on part number 2. It's going to go in way more depth than it's going to be today. Today is going to be around 30 to 40 minutes, most likely. And then part number 2 is like 90 minutes to 2 hours. So it's a lot more in depth. But today is going to be absolutely essential for you to see what are the ways to make this happen. So if you're excited to be able to get more money, make more money with whatever it is that you're doing, or you're open to the idea to apply this knowledge to something that could be connected to what you love and that you could monetize, then comment below cha-ching. So cha-ching, we always write it like cha-ching. You can write whichever way you want to write it. But I'm just very excited because whenever I learned this for the very first time, it really, blew my mind. It was like, oh my gosh, why don't we learn this at school? And it's so easy, actually. And that's also why I wrote the post earlier today, because a lot of the time I see people that really, work hard, are very eager. They have fantastic things to offer. Like, also, I want to say a massive hoo-ha-hoo to the incredible Julia. I think she's on. If not, if you're watching the replay, Julia, hoo-ha-hoo to you for launching or uploading your first course ever. It's just like a lot of the time we see people that have fantastic courses and fantastic material that can help other people, but they're just not yet aware of how they can make more money and how they can literally break it down in a way that it's easy to do that too. Yeah, you're on. Super nice. So yeah, this is going to definitely help you a lot because you have that course now. You want to get it out there. You want to help as many people as possible. So definitely pay close attention to this. So let's get started. And I'm going to be writing down a lot of different things on the board. So make sure to write notes as well. As you guys probably know by now, I usually do things interactive. So I'm going to say things to comment below just because it allows you to learn faster. This is called accelerated learning. So whenever I say comment something below, don't hesitate, just comment below, get into the flow of things, because if you get this thing that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today, you seriously can make dangerous amounts of money. When I say dangerous, it's like, oh my God, so much money. And it's really cool because everything that I'm going to be talking about is definitely about how you can help people. Do it by something that helps people. So if you're excited, comment below and say, let's go. So let's write this down. By the way, I'm going to write it down in dollars because I choose to, but you can write this down for any given currency. The same principle applies. But the key is to always start from the result. Okay, so the first thing is, if you say to yourself, I want to make a lot of money, and $100,000, sorry, it is a lot of money to a lot of people, right? Because so many people, they work at a job, and in a whole year, they don't even make this amount of money. Whereas for us, we can make this money in a couple of days, easily. And so it's like a whole different type of perspective towards money. And it's like a very internal shift most of the time that people need to make when it comes to being able to, get this type of income in a very short space of time by helping a lot of people. So that's the first thing. You have to make that decision. So comment below and say, I decide to make money, a lot of money. I decide to make a lot of money, because it really is that decision. But secondly, what I want you guys to know is as well that most of the time the problem is that people, they just go in without any real strategy or without any real thought to it. And I've heard it time and time again, people say like, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind, making more money. I wouldn't mind to make $1 million. I want to become a billionaire even, right? And they just go in, do something. They find the first object that they can find, for instance, phone cases, right? Like, oh man, I love phone cases. Let me just go out there, sell phone cases. And phone cases sell for, I don't know, $10, right? And they go at it, and let me tell you, there are people making millions selling phone cases. So it's not like it's a wrong thing. But if you don't know how to go about it, just going in without doing this process that we're about to do here on the board, it doesn't lead you anywhere. And it can often lead to distress, and people think like, oh no, it doesn't work. But here's the thing, it does work, as long as you know how to, go about it in the right way. And that's why I'm very excited for this training. And I'm also just going to be honest. As you guys know, I'm always honest and to the point. I know some of you who are watching this, you're just watching like, oh, what is this thing all about? It's, a lot of money on the board, and I'm excited. What is this about? But most people don't focus. And what I want to say is that if you are actually intrigued by, what's here, by the way, here's a whole closing strategy, by the way, of how you can make this in a couple of days, right? But that besides the point. If you focus for around 30 to 40 minutes with me and you get this thing, it really can change your life. And I'm not kidding when I say this. When I learned this and I got it, it never left me. And yeah, it's a whole different game, whole different world, like a whole new world. But you got to be here. Stay until the end. Comment below and say, I'll stay here until the end, because it has the potential to change your whole life around, right? But the first thing that is very important, no matter what it is that you end up doing, whether it's method number 1 or method number 2, always start at the end. Always start with the result in mind. And this is what we call reverse engineering. So comment below and say reverse engineering. This is very, very important. So that's what we've done. We started off with this. We wrote down the amount of money that you want to make. And like I said before, again, you can apply this to if you want to make $1 million. Maybe some of you are already making 6 figures and you want to say, hey, I want to get to the next level. You can work this out for any amount of money that you want to make. But as long as you start first with the end result in mind. Now then, this is the one of the only parts where math really, really, really is super essential, because we've learned all these beautiful things in school, but not how we can look after ourselves, not how we can become financially free. Unfortunately, not about how you can make passive income, which, by the way, I'm going to talk about in part 2, which is the webinar. This is requiring some basic math. Okay, I see some other numbers on the board. Very, very beautiful. I want to make 87,000. Very specific. I like it. So you can do the same process, okay? Now, the first thing is you want to see what are the different ways that I can make this. So break that down first. So I can ask you guys, how can we make this? Well, the first thing is you should close a deal for 100,000 and you're done. One deal does the job, right? That's possible. But that's just basically this number already on the board. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, okay, how can I also get this type of money is by making 10 deals of 10,000, right? If I close a $10,000 deal, and I know some of you may be thinking like, how do I close a $10,000 deal, a $10,000 program or product or whatever? We'll talk about that in a moment. But if you have 10 of these type of deals, then this money is made, okay? What's another way of how you can get it? And make sure, by the way, to write this down. It may seem trivial, it may seem simple to the point, but I highly recommend everybody who's watching this and who's not yet making this amount of money per year or per month, then do this exercise. Just write it down for yourself, because it does something to your brain, subconscious, and will allow you to get closer to actually starting to make this type of money. All right. So another thing would be to have 100 of 1K sales. All right. So for instance, we have Julia in the house. I'm not sure, Julia, what is the amount of money that you're going to sell your course for? Comment below in the chat box. But a lot of the time, people sell that for, let's say, $1,000, right? So if you sell 100 of your courses, then you're already at this one, right? Or if you sell 87, then you're already here, okay? So this is another option of how you can go about it. Now, then the next option is you can sell 1,000 of a $100 thing, right? $100 product or service or something you can sell for this amount, this price point, and then 1,000 clients, and you hit the same amount. All right. And then last but not least, super simple at this stage, you can sell 10,000 of a $10 thing. Okay, as long as you get 10,000 people to buy a $10 thing, then you can make this type of money. Now, I want to ask you guys a question. Okay, selling at 87. What? 87? Are you for real? Now, this is a legit reaction because I can bet you, and I don't do bets, but I can bet you that your course is worth way more than that amount of money. All right. Okay, just kidding. Don't do this to me. Don't you do me like that on a live. Even at this amount, she says 250. I am willing to bet you that it's way more powerful than that. Julia, I want to say one thing. If you at this moment in time, and this holds for everybody who's watching this live or will be watching the replay, if you are at this moment thinking, okay, 2,250, that's about what my course is worth, then you need to attend part 2. I'm not kidding, because you will see that this is probably undercharging. Probably. Very, very, yeah. I think you're undercharging. As a matter of fact, I've seen too many examples of people who have incredible value and are just literally giving it away for peanuts. And it seems to me, and I'm sorry if I'm this, direct, I really think that you probably want to go for this. And so I would highly recommend you to be there on part 2. And this is also for everybody, not just Julia, and understand this point. I'm actually going to talk about it a little bit more today as well. But yeah, I'm pretty certain that what you have put together is far more valuable than just $250. All right. So I love your honesty. I'll be there. Beautiful. Very, very beautiful. So just coming back to the process, what we've covered so far, especially for those of you who weren't late. First of all, you need to get clear, obviously, what's the amount of money that you're willing to make. Today, we're talking specifically about 100,000, 6 figures, right? And then we are doing the process of reverse engineering. So we're literally writing down what are all the possibilities of me making this type of money. And so a lot of the time people say, okay, which one of these is the best? To be honest, there are people making this type of money, selling this type of product. There are people selling this type of product, making this amount of money. There are people selling this type of product, making this amount of money. People are selling $10 things, making this amount of money. So the truth of the matter is that everything works. Okay, this might not be what you expected because the title said the 2 best ways, right? But in principle, everything works. But different things work in different circumstances. Okay, different things work in different circumstances, and you have to understand this concept. So what I'm going to share with you guys now is a very powerful concept, and I want you guys to write this down. Okay, so we're talking about this effect of this goal of making the 100,000. Okay, so that's the thing that we wish to achieve. But what we have to understand is, if you're looking at, let's keep it simple. Julia's example, where she's selling her course for 1,000. Okay, and just do it. I know it's worth that, and I'm going to talk about it more in a moment. So this is that option, and let's say the earlier option that I was saying, right? Selling phone cases for $10. Let's say that option. So what's the difference there? The difference obviously is these numbers, right? The numbers are here. The price point is high, and the volume is low. Here, the price point is low. I've got 2 puppies here playing, and the volume is high. Okay, so I want you guys to get this concept of volume versus price point. Okay, so I want you to write this thing down. If you have, let's say, high price, so high price, okay, there we go. Then you need to have low volume. You're going to write fee. Okay, if you have high volume, then you can have low price. This is a concept that you have to understand, okay? So this is exactly what we saw on the other page. Low volume, we have around 100 people, not around, exactly 100 people, and you're selling at the thousands. That's a higher price in most cases, right, for most people. Then higher volume, so you have a lot of people buying at a lower price, and they equate to the same amount that you're wishing to sell, all right? Now, let me ask you this question because, you might still at this point think, okay, but which one is better? Which one, works well in whichever scenario? But let me ask you this. How many of you at this stage are already in business? Comment below and say business. Then another question is, if you're not in business yet, but you are looking to start or you're open to starting, then comment below and say starting. Okay? Just want to check it out. So how many of you are already in business? And how many of you are looking to start or are open to starting? Maybe even if it is you're having a job and you're looking to start something on the side, something that can grow whilst you're in the weekends, or when you are the evening hours, you just have the time to yourself, up to a point where the business is making more money than your actual job. If you say, bye job, I'm gonna focus on this now. All right, so I see people are starting. All right, nice. So let me ask you this question. And this is the case for most people, even people that are already in business. Let me ask you this. Do you, when you just start out, have a low volume of people or a high volume of people? What do you guys think? Comment below. Do you have a low volume of people? In other words, do you have a smaller audience? Or do you have a higher audience, a bigger audience when you just start out? Which of the two do you have, right? Low, exactly, right? Who for that? So you already know that this is the thing that you have. In that case, what would be smarter to do? To sell at the low price point or at the high price point? The board already says it. If you have a low volume, you are better off selling at a high price point to make the same amount of money. If you have access to a higher price point, then you can sell the low price point. If you have access to a higher volume, a bigger audience, then you can sell the lower price point. So do you guys understand now why a lot of the time people, they say, okay, yes, I want to go and sell, whatever, t-shirts. And they just go at it and maybe they do a Facebook Live and then they get 1 or 2 sales and they're like, oh man, this doesn't work. I'm not making the amount of money that I want to make. Of course, right? Of course it doesn't work because it doesn't add up. This is basic math. So you have to obviously understand this concept to see, okay, what is the best strategy? So what I want you guys to write down is that especially when starting out, this is a very powerful approach, okay? To sell something at a higher price point, which is exactly what Julia is doing, by the way. Julia's like, am I? Yes, you are. Because you have your course, right? Your course, absolutely powerful, absolutely incredible. It can change people's lives, which from now on, I hereby declare, you're going to be selling at 1,000 minimal. And for those of you who are just tuning in, Julia so beautifully shared with us that she is uploading her course right now, her first ever course, which is absolutely amazing. Once again, hoo-ha-hoo. But she was thinking of selling it at 250. And I said to her, I'm betting, even though I don't do bets, but I can pretty much guarantee that her course is way more valuable than just the 250. And this is another point that I want you guys to get, okay? Before we dive into what is the second best way, because the first best way, you guys have already nailed it, is this one, right? Low volume, sell at a high price point until you hit this mark, and then you can hit this mark easier. But here's the thing, I really want you guys to get this, and I want you to write this down, okay? People don't pay you for your products or your services or your programs. People pay you for the transformation that it brings. I'm going to say it again. People don't pay you for your product, your service, or your program. People pay you for the transformation that it brings. And so if you know, and let me ask you this, Julia, do you know that your course has a lot of value? When someone watches it, it will do something to the person? It will make a difference to the person? Of course you know that. Otherwise you wouldn't have, gone through all the effort to record this thing. Just put so much love, energy, and dedication to it. You know it will be life-changing. And that's what we have to understand. I often give this example, and I don't have that much time anymore for this live class because I'm respectful of you guys' time, and tomorrow I'm going to go in way more detail, obviously. But the thing is that I have this a lot with a lot of our students, and we have incredible students, part of the Freedom Lifestyle Creators certification program. And there once was, and I always tell this story because it really literally broke my heart. There was this one student, and I was coaching her, and was, taking her through the business launch procedure, and she was selling a yoga retreat. Okay, and just quickly going to share the story because I know it will impact you guys. She was selling a yoga retreat, absolutely incredible. 4 days, people were traveling to her location, which was somewhere in the United Kingdom, and it was beautiful for 4 days. They get to sleep there. She pays for the accommodation. She pays for the food. She pays for the excursion. That was all included in the price. So I said to her, okay, how much are you charging, right? 4 days of retreat, yoga retreat. She does amazing things with them. They have excursions, accommodation, food, all covered. I said, how much are you charging? Because we were making the funnel, we're making all the stuff, getting the whole strategy so that you can make more money. Then she said to me, for that, she charged $250. Same beautiful amount as you happen to have written that, Julia. So I said to her, what? 250? Like, I was like legit shocked because how are you even breaking even right now? 250 plus you pay for everything, right? How do you make, how do you have any penny left after all of that? And she said, yeah, it is quite hard. It's like not much money left. I hardly make profit. I said to her, okay, Julia, I told her, not Julia, I told her the same thing. I said, you need to charge higher. I said, 1,000 minimum, that's in the industry standard. And she's like, but how could I charge that? It's only a yoga retreat. And again, for those of you who are my students, you've heard me share this story before, but it's that profound. She said to me, it's only a yoga retreat. And at that point, it was like, I was like, man. So what I said to her at that time was, are these people that come to this retreat, do they get value from it? She said, absolutely, absolutely. She said, physically, they get a lot of value from it because obviously practicing yoga for 4 days straight, and obviously not the whole day, but like for 4 days straight, physically, they notice a difference. And she said, the beautiful thing is, and that's why I love doing it, even if it doesn't make that much money, she said, I just love it because at the end of the yoga retreat, they cry tears of happiness. They come to me, they give me a big hug, and they say, thank you so much. You literally changed my life. And I said to her, do you see what you're doing? You're changing people's lives. I say, okay, you've told me it has an impact on their health and well-being. Super, right? Then I said to her, now that they have these breakthroughs, do you think they feel more confident? She says, yeah, absolutely. They feel way more confident. They're like ready and excited to take back the charge, take back the power in their lives. And okay, beautiful. Do you think, I said to her, that will have an impact on their energy levels and therefore their productivity and therefore the things that they can take on? She said, yes, absolutely. I said, okay, cool. Do you think that may have an effect on their jobs or on their businesses? They can maybe make more money because they have so much more energy. She said, yeah, that's obviously the case. I said, okay, cool. Do you think it has an effect on their relationships? Because they have more energy, more confidence, more excitement. Do you think it will help their spouses and their families or their relationships at work or the friend circle? She says, yes, absolutely. Okay. I said to her, do you now see what you are doing? You're literally changing their whole life. And then she said, well, now that you bring it this way, yeah, it is actually pretty valuable. This is what a lot of people miss. They think, oh, I'm just teaching yoga, therefore that's, just yoga. By the way, yoga in itself is profound. It's super, super impactful. But this doesn't just hold in this example. It holds for everything. what you have to understand, that's why I want you guys to write it down once again. People don't pay you for your product, your service, or your program. People pay you for the transformation that that brings. And so that is why I say to Julia right now, like, I can guarantee you that your program literally is worth so much more because it has a transformational effect. And just see the comments. I have transformed my life. I'm sharing step by step what I did. Well, there you go. There you go, right? So that is worth the high price. That is worth that investment, all right? So that's very important to realize. So that's the first thing, right? Being able to offer something just like Julia that goes at a high price, because people are willing to pay the money for something that changes their lives around. Okay, so this is super, super, super important to realize. Hey, super nice to have you tune in. So that's the first thing. So the first good way, or the first best way to be able to do this, and literally anyone can do this. You may be watching this or watching the replay thinking like, hey, how can I do this, right? I don't have my course yet, just like Julia. You will want to watch part 2 on the webinar. I'm going to literally break down how anyone can do this, how anyone can offer something based on what you already know. It's not like you have to create something out of thin air. Based on what you already know, you can get people to pay you this higher investment. I'm also going to talk about automation, about how you can create passive income, how you can also make people want to put the money into your pocket. Make people want to say like, hey, wait a second, this is super awesome. I'm actually going to pay you this amount of money. So this is the first way. So the first powerful way to be able to make this kind of money. Now, I said to you guys, there's another way, right? There's another way how you can also make this kind of money. And that's why I said the 2 best ways to make 6 figures. Now, this other way basically talks about the lower price point. And when we talk about this, and we just covered this before as well, when we did this called reverse engineering, when you talk about, this lower price point, something maybe, phone cases or pens or t-shirts or whatever that you offer at a lower price point, you need a higher volume. You need to be able to have that higher volume, okay? So what is that other way? It basically is that you learn how to drive traffic. So I want everybody to comment below and say traffic, okay? You need to learn how to be able to create a high volume, even if you might not yet have that audience yourself. And when I say you don't have that audience yourself, I mean, maybe your Facebook page hasn't got that many likes yet. Maybe your Instagram profile hasn't got that many followers yet. Your YouTube channel hasn't got that many subscribers yet, right? Even at that, you can still be able to generate this higher volume by means of traffic generation, which is either Facebook marketing, Google marketing, any form of marketing where you're paying for those views, you're paying for the traffic. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about that as well on part 2 on the webinar and the Webby, right? It's very, very powerful. But I want to share one other thing because this is super awesome. This way, again, is way number 2. It's super awesome, but it requires you to build that skill. It requires you to be able to see how that is done. It's not like overnight, it's like, oh, I'll just press a button and boom, there we go. The traffic is there. Now I can sell $10 t-shirts all day long. It's not like that. You got to build that skill. But what if I was to tell you that there is a super, even more powerful way than just one or just 2 to combine it? That is the ultimate way of how you can do it. And it's very, very to the point, very straightforward. And this is something that I share with all my students when they go through the Freedom Lifestyle Creators program. This is one of the parts that is mandatory for everybody to do. And what this basically is, and I don't have that much time to go into a lot of detail because I promise you I'm very aware of your guys' time as well. But today, I really wanted this to hone in so that you can already start thinking about this tonight as your homework. And then when we dive into part 2, you already have an idea, okay? So here it is. This is the thing that I share with all my students. It is basically to craft this, put all your focus towards this, but when you come across people that may not directly pay for this one, you offer something of the lower price category as a downsell. So write that down. Maybe at this point in time, it may be like, what are you talking about? So let me tell you what I don't mean. What I don't mean is that Julia has her course and she will run her own very powerful trainings, and she talks to people one-on-one, she makes calls and she talks to people, say like, hey, you want to buy my course? And then she said, okay, well, what's the investment? The investment is $1,000. And then the person says, oh, I don't have that kind of money. Okay, how about a t-shirt? That's not what I meant. Okay, so I'm not saying people not buying your course or whatever you're offering for a higher price. Let's go to something completely not related for a lower price point. That's not what I mean. The power of this mechanism lies in how can you actually craft what we call a product funnel, where you have lower price and higher price items that are related. So you have things at the higher price items, for instance, like what Julia has as her courses, and then she has lower price items that also have to do with exactly the power of what her course is about, the transformation. It could be that there are books. Maybe she has books. Maybe she can create a mini video series, because the course is big, obviously. There's a lot of videos in there. This could be something which has a little bit less information, but still valuable. That is the power of how you can go about all of this and actually combine the efforts. Because the truth of the matter is that whilst there is definite merit in focusing on one thing, you can still put all your focus on one thing and allow the other options to come from that. And this is something that again, we talk about a lot when it comes to our FLC program, where you focus on one particular effort, but from that, by means of splintering, so make sure comment below and say splintering. This is a very powerful technique where, based on your core offer, that's how you call it, the core offer, which is at this price point, you can actually create lower offers as well as higher offers, but that's a slightly different type of mechanism, but lower offers by means of splintering. You have an ebook, amazing, and you can then pretty much get started with this very, very fast, as long as you know, like, obviously how to go about it in a way that you don't come across salesy. Because let me ask you this question: how many of you have ever had it that you wanted to sell this something, and you had something really valuable? This was really, really awesome. You're like, oh man, this is the best thing ever, and you know it will help people. But then you come to them and you say like, hey, this is the price, and then they're like, ah, they run away, and they're like, no, don't bother me. How many of you have ever had that? Comment yes below if you had, because a lot of the time I see people that get to this and they feel really, really awkward when it comes to sales. All of that, whilst actually all you're trying to do is just help them. You know they'll be better off with you than without you in this particular area. And so the key in all of that lies in being able to sell without being salesy. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. So let me just very quickly show you guys if I have, do I have it on here? Just the points. Is it on here? Oh no, I don't think I have it on my screen. But anyways, tomorrow I will talk about that. So how you can sell without being salesy. I did. Nice. Well, it's not nice actually, because it's like, oh my gosh, it feels so awkward. But this is the thing. You can do all of this, focus on this one, and have this one come as a result from that also. But you gotta do it in a way that is not salesy. And that's why tomorrow, you guys are gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna not just talk about the whole sales part, that's secret number 3. We're also gonna talk about how can anyone create a high price point based on what you already know today. But also, aside from that, how you can do all of this, sell all of this, but work less. And this is really cool. And that's why I always feel so happy and blessed to live a freedom lifestyle, because the freedom comes from being able to have an automation in place. Comment below and say automation equals freedom. And exactly these 3 secrets is going to be so super powerful. I'm going to share it with you guys on the masterclass. And yeah, you guys are going to love it. Absolutely love it. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in today. And I hope you guys have learned a whole bunch and you're excited for actually making this work for you. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're going to talk about it in a whole lot more detail. We're going to talk about, like I said before, about how anyone can do this based on what you already know. how you can automate the systems that actually starts working for you, and you can do whatever you want to do, like play with the dogs, or and how you can sell without being salesy and actually make people come to you and think like, oh wow, that's an incredible offer. Thank you so much for doing that for me, right? So that's what we're gonna cover. See you guys later. Bye.